Hello, mighty companions. This is Earl Raj Purdy. And I want to welcome you to Hardcore Course in Miracles, a course in miracles. And we're going to be talking about how to get rid of internal conflict, how to stop projecting conflict, seeing conflict. We're going to be talking about the investment in reality. How do you make the investment in love? How do you make investment in your peace? How do you actually let that joy and peace come to you? That's what we're going to be talking about today in Hardcore Course in Miracles. This is Earl Purdy here on Facebook Live, welcoming you to Hardcore Course in Miracles. We're going to start out with our theme song, We Are One, from Brother John Christmas at www.johnchristmas.com. And we're going to use that to tune in and to get ourselves really centered and focused as our mighty companions join us right now to hear A Course in Miracles, Hardcore Course in Miracles. So here we go. Everything is turning upside down. That's the words I hear, they keep coming through from deep inside of me and you. It's telling us that love is who I am. Love is who I am. Feel it, feel it. You and me were not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it. Know that we are one. Yeah, yeah, we are one. Now let's come together and understand that love was born inside of everyone. He's waiting for us to choose love as ourselves. We got to choose love as ourselves. When you choose him, you know you choose me too. Everyone becomes a part of you. And then you'll know that love is who I am. You and me were not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. You and I have been together from the start. Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it. Know that we are one. Yeah, yeah, we are one. Oh, we are one. Good evening. Hello, mighty companion. This is Earl Raj Purdy. I'm here to do Hardcore Course in Miracles with you. I've been teaching and learning A Course in Miracles for over 40 years, and it's been so good. It's been so good for me. I want you to open your mind and be open to looking at things another way. If you have some fear, some anxiety, some concern, some worry about something, then there is a message for you right now. You and me were not that far apart. Ow! Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. You and me. You and me. Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? go, darling.
We are one.
I am you,
And you are me.
dum 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 dum. Woo! I love that. We're going to be on page 221 in the text of A Course in Miracles. 221. We're going to be in chapter 12. We're going to be in section 3. And we're going to start with paragraph 6 in the Foundation for Inner Peace version of A Course in Miracles, the Blue Book. All right, let me get this going here. It's so good to be with you. Okay, this is Hardcore Course in Miracles. So I really want to invite you, if you're somewhere that you can do it and you have access to it, I'd like for you to get your Course in Miracles book. Because I've been a teacher of A Course in Miracles for 4 decades, and I want to be truly helpful. I want to help you really get the juice out of what the Course in Miracles is teaching. Because we're talking about how to not make yourself poor, how to not drive yourself crazy. We're going to be talking about how to get rid of conflict and how to get some type of control in your life so that it's moving in the direction of love and peace that you want it to go. And I'm going to be doing it from the standpoint of A Course in Miracles. I'm going to be sharing from A Course in Miracles, not other books, not other teachers, not other things, but from A Course in Miracles. And I do the hardcore Course in Miracles, especially for Course in Miracles students. I love the Course in Miracles book itself, and I've specialized in focusing on what the book, the Course in Miracles book is saying, and teaching from A Course in Miracles book. So the Course in Miracles consists of 3 books in one. There's a text, there's a workbook for students, and there's a manual for teachers, all in one book. And if you really want to get the best that I have to offer tonight, and the best that the Course in Miracles has to offer, the Course in Miracles has guidelines. The Course in Miracles describes how to study A Course in Miracles. And it says the first thing you need to do is you need to remember. What is it you need to remember? Well, you need to remember that you don't need to believe these ideas. You don't need to believe these ideas. You don't need to accept these ideas. You don't need to even welcome these ideas at first. So to open your mind so that you can really receive what A Course in Miracles is teaching, instead of telling you that you need to believe this and you got to believe this, what the Course in Miracles says is you need not believe the ideas. You need not accept the ideas. You need not even welcome the ideas. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to welcome it. The Course in Miracles also says, guess what? The Course in Miracles also says some of the ideas you may actively resist. So you may resist some of the ideas that I say. You may resist some of the ideas, really not the ideas I say. You may resist the ideas that A Course in Miracles is saying. Some of the ideas that the Course in Miracles is saying, you're going to find hard to believe. You might find some of the stuff that I say from A Course in Miracles very hard for you to believe. You may find some of the things that I say to you very hard to believe. Not only very hard to believe, you may tell yourself that you can't understand some of the things that I may say from A Course in Miracles. But really, the Course in Miracles says that to understand means to accept. That to understand means to accept. So could that mean that it's not necessarily true that you don't really understand something that A Course in Miracles is saying? It just may be that you don't accept something that the Course in Miracles is saying. That you actually really get what it's saying, but you just don't believe it. The Course in Miracles says some of the things that the Course in Miracles says is going to startle you. You know, some of the things the Course in Miracles says might startle you. So accept that. I might say some things from A Course in Miracles that startles you. Do you know what I think the most important instruction that the Course in Miracles gives is that you are not asked to judge the ideas at all. That we're not getting together to analyze A Course in Miracles. I refuse to be another analyzing of the Course in Miracles teacher. I don't analyze the Course in Miracles. I am a divine remembering coach. I see my role as helping people remember the instructions that we're being given. I think it's more important to focus on what are the answers and instructions and solutions that A Course in Miracles is giving us than it is to focus in on analyzing what it's saying. So the Course in Miracles really, do you know that the Course in Miracles is really telling you what to do if you want to know that the ideas are true. If you want to test the ideas out, it said their use will give the ideas meaning to you, and using the ideas will show you that the ideas are true. So it's using the ideas that will show you that the ideas are true. What did I say? What did I say? I teach in a question and answer format. And a repetition format. And I also use some of the definitions of the terms that the Course in Miracles itself gives. So sometimes I substitute the Course in Miracles definitions for some of the words to make it more conversational, to make it easier to hear. So what is it? So I'm going to give you a quick pop quiz. Here's the pop quiz. What is it that will show you that the ideas are true? Will using the ideas show you that the ideas are true? That's your pop quiz. Will using the ideas show you that the ideas are true? Okay. I say using the ideas are going to do it. So we're going to start out chapter 12, paragraph 6, section 3 in chapter 12, which is the Holy Spirit's curriculum. One more thing I want to share with you. Remember that the Course in Miracles is a course in mind training. It's a course in correcting your perception, giving you perceptions that give you love and peace and joy. Do not forget that the Course in Miracles works primarily at the level of the mind. The Course in Miracles works at the level of perception. The level of perception. It's working on your perception. The Course in Miracles is trying to give you a new perception, a loving perception. It's all about how you see things, because how you see things determine how you feel about things. The way you feel about things is coming from your mind. The way you feel about things is coming from your thoughts. Now, the ego is that part of the mind that believes it's separate, the part of the mind that goes through fear and anxiety, the part of the mind that believes that it is separate from God, separate from love. The Course defines the ego as a fearful thought, as a fearful thought. So what is it that the very first sentence says in chapter 12, section 3, paragraph 6? On page 221. Now, another tip that I want to give you, Course in Miracles student, is that the Course in Miracles says many times in the material that you should read it and do it slowly. It's like cheese, I call it the cheesecake of truth. You have to take little bites and you have to nibble it, but don't worry about whether or not you understand every sentence, because it's going to say the same thing from many different angles, so that one of those angles, hopefully, you will be able to accept it and receive it. So how do you make yourself poor? How does a person make themselves poor? Well, the Course in Miracles says to identify with the ego is to attack yourself. So to identify with guilty thoughts, fearful thoughts, to identify with the idea that you are separate from God, to identify with the idea that you are separate from love, which is the ego, is to attack yourself. So to identify with your fear, do you know that to identify with your ego, to identify with your fear, to identify with your anger, to identify with your body, is to attack yourself. And that's what makes yourself poor. So that very first sentence, let's make sure we hear what it's saying. Let's make sure let's nibble. That's right. We have to nibble A Course in Miracles. So to identify with the ego is to attack yourself. So if you are identifying with the part of you that doesn't love you, if you are identifying with the part of you that judges you, if you're identifying with the part of you that criticizes you, then you are hurting yourself. You are attacking yourself. So when a person is walking around not loving themselves, judging themselves, attacking themselves, well, do you know that that is how you make yourself poor? So that's how a person makes themselves poor. So whether you see yourself as poor or not has nothing to do with the economy or how much money you have. To see yourself as poor is to identify yourself, with the part of you that's full of anger, the part of you that has guilt, the part of you that has insecurity in your mind. That is attacking yourself. How do I know that's true? Because when I'm down on myself and attacking myself, then I don't feel good. I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel happy. So how do you know when you're identifying with your fear, with your ego, with your wrong-mindedness, which I think is a great definition that the Course in Miracles uses for the ego. Wrong-mindedness, wrong thinking, wrong-mindedness. So if you identify with your wrong thinking, if you identify with your fearful thinking, you are making yourself poor. Do you really want to make yourself poor? Well, stop putting yourself down. Stop attacking yourself. Stop seeing yourself as sinful or guilty. And A Course in Miracles teaches you how to do that through the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles. So that's why he says, that's why everyone who identifies with the ego feels deprived. So why is it that anyone that identifies with their fear, their anger, and their guilt feels deprived? You feel deprived because you're making yourself, the person is feeling deprived because they're making themselves poor. So how is the person making themselves poor? By identifying with their fear, by identifying with the ego. So for any of this to make sense to you, there's something I need to tell you right now. Do you know what it is? You are spirit. You are spirit. You are a spiritual being. The Course says you are spirit. You are mind. You are mind. You are spirit. You are not a body. You have a body, but you are not a body. You have a body, but you are not a body. So I'm talking to the spiritual you. I am talking to the real you right now. Just for an hour, lay down your cloak of thinking that you are just a human being. Lay down your cloak of just thinking that you are a person. Lay down your cloak of thinking that you are just a man or a woman for just an hour. Let go of the concepts of yourself that you've been taught. Let me talk crazy to you. Let me say some things to you that may sound insane to you. Let me say some things from A Course in Miracles that may sound crazy to you. For just an hour, just an hour. Just say, let me have it. Just tell me the most outrageous things. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. So how can you tell when you are identified with your wrong mind? How can you tell when you are identified with your ego? Well, he says what you experience then is depression or anger. So what's happening when you are depressed? What's happening when a person is depressed? What's happening when a person is angry? Well, when you're angry and when you're depressed, the Course says it's because what you did was to exchange self-love for self-hate. So a person that's depressed, a person that's angry, and a person that sees themselves as poor, what that person is doing is hating themselves. Self-hatred produces depression, anger, and poverty. It comes from self-hatred. It comes from exchanging loving yourself for hating yourself. So the truth is, when I'm depressed and when I'm angry, and when a person is depressed and when a person is angry, according to A Course in Miracles, that's right there on the page. If you have the book, you know I'm not making this up. I'm saying what's on the page, but bringing it to life. So the Course in Miracles is saying that whenever you feel depression, whenever you feel anger, that you're really hating yourself. That in that moment you're hating yourself and identifying with being separate from God and separate from love. So when you exchange self-love for self-hate, what did it say next? Making you afraid of yourself, making him afraid of yourself. So what makes a person afraid of themselves? A person that hates themselves is a person that's afraid of themselves. A person that's afraid of themselves and a person who is hating themselves, they are experiencing depression or anger. If a person is experiencing depression or anger, it's because they are feeling deprived. So why is that person feeling deprived? Because they are identifying with their fears. They are identifying with their ego. And when you identify with your ego, when you identify with your anger, when you identify with your body, when you identify with the fear, the Course in Miracles says you're making yourself poor. You're making yourself poor. So, wow. The next sentence says, he does not realize this. What did you say, Course in Miracles? Everything that I just told you, you don't realize this. You don't realize this. That's why you're learning it, Raj. That's why you're learning it. You're learning this because you don't realize this. You don't realize what? You don't realize that whenever you're full of depression and anger and seeing yourself as poor or in poverty, whenever you feel yourself deprived, you don't realize that what you've done is you've exchanged loving yourself for hating yourself. It means you are identifying with your body, your ego. You're identifying with the part of you that thinks that it can die, the human self. The human self. If you identify with your human self as being your true identity, you're going to feel depression and anger. You're going to sometimes exchange self-love for self-hate. But what's the key thing we need to remember? The Course says he does not realize this. It's like when Jesus said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. You don't realize what you're doing to yourself when you're hurting yourself. When a person is hurting themselves, they don't realize it. When you're hurting yourself, you don't realize it. Even if a person is aware of their anxiety, let's say you are a person and you're feeling a lot of anxiety right now. Well, the Course in Miracles says that the person who's experiencing anxiety doesn't see that it's their ego that's causing their anxiety. A person who's going through depression and anger and poverty, or seeing themselves as deprived, or seeing themselves as poor, they do not recognize that what's causing that negativity is identifying with their ego, identifying with thoughts of fear, identifying with thoughts of separation, identifying with thoughts of anger, identifying with the part of me that just believes it's a body that's separate from God, that's separate from love. That's really what's causing anxiety. It's not what's happening on the job that's causing anxiety. It's not what's happening in your relationship that's causing your anxiety. What's causing your anxiety is that you are identifying with your ego. You are identifying with thoughts of separation, thoughts of fear, thoughts of being separate from God. The Course says, now, what is the next part of the sentence says? It says, even if you're fully aware of anxiety, you don't perceive its source as your own ego fear identification. So what do? Well, you're feeling anxiety, you try to handle the anxiety. So how does the wrong-minded person try to handle anxiety? Well, the Course in Miracles says, well, you try to handle anxiety by making some sort of an insane arrangement with the world. So I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling anger, I'm feeling depression, I feel like I'm lacking in some way. So I need to go out here and make some kind of arrangement in the world. I need to figure out how to make more money. I need to try to get on a dating site and see if I can meet somebody who's going to really love me. I need to see if I can go back to school and get a degree, because if I do that, I won't be so depressed. I won't be angry. Things will go better for me. So the Course in Miracles says the average person doesn't realize that their anxiety and depression is coming from their identification with their ego, that they are identifying with the idea that they're separate from everything around them, and that they're separate from love, and that they're separate from God. But what did the Course say? The Course says you don't realize it. What I'm saying is you don't always realize what's causing your anxiety. And so you think to feel better, you need to make some kind of arrangement or do something in the outer world to make yourself feel better. Now, why is it that a person's going to try to go out in the world and make some kind of an insane arrangement with the world in order to get rid of their anxiety? Why does a person do that? Well, the very next sentence says, the person always perceives this world as outside themselves. This is crucial to your adjustment. All right, so you see the world as outside of you. You see the world, a person who is feeling anxiety and depression and anger and guilt, they don't realize that it's their own thinking that's making them feel that way. So they think that they've got to change something on the outside in order to feel better, because they see the world as outside themselves. Seeing the world as outside themselves, that's crucial to their adjustment. Do you see the world as outside yourself? Do you see the world as outside yourself? Do you believe that you have to make some arrangements outside of yourself in order to make yourself feel better? But that means you don't realize that it's your wrong thinking and your ego that's making you feel bad. That it's your ego that's giving you the anxiety. The ego is the crazy adjuster. That's exactly right. And there is no world outside of yourself. But the Course in Miracles says the world is a false perception. So your world is the way you are seeing things. When your world is your perception, right? Aren't you living inside your perception? Aren't you seeing everything through your eyes? So it looks like the world is outside of you. But that's crucial. That's crucial that you think the world is outside of you. If you're going to continue to have the depression or the fear or the anxiety. So what am I doing right now? What am I doing right now? I want to help you be able to read and study A Course in Miracles on your own. A good teacher is a good motivator. You can't change another person. Don't ever believe you can change another person, because you can't change another person. The Course in Miracles says all you can do is motivate a person to change themselves. That a good teacher is a good motivator. That if I'm going to be a good teacher, then I have to be a good motivator. And the Course in Miracles says that a good motivator, a good teacher, has two things they need to remember. A good teacher believes in the ideas that they're teaching. A good teacher believes in the ideas that they're sharing. And I believe in these ideas. I've had 40 years of watching these ideas work in my life and in countless others that I've worked with. So I believe in the ideas of A Course in Miracles. And then the Course in Miracles says then there's one more characteristic of a good teacher. And you could say a good parent or anybody. What is the other characteristic? Well, the Course in Miracles says the other characteristic is you have to believe in the students that you give the ideas to. I got to believe in what the Course in Miracles is saying, then I have to believe in you. I have to believe in you. And I do believe in you. I believe that anyone that is tuning in to my presentations or listening to my presentations, they were sent by love. They were sent by the Holy Spirit. They were sent by the Creator. And I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe there's love in you. I believe there's good in you. I believe there's truth in you. I believe there's a desire for peace in you. I believe in you. I believe in the Course and I believe in you. I believe in the Course and I believe in you. If you want to help somebody, you have to believe in the ideas that you're sharing with them, but you also have to believe in the idea. You also have to believe in the person that you're sharing the ideas with. Don't think that you're going to be a good motivator if you're sharing your point of view, but you don't believe in the person that you're sharing it with. I want you to hear that. I want you to hear that. A good teacher is a good motivator. A motivator is somebody who motivates somebody to change their own mind. That's what a good teacher does, because you can't change anybody else. Actually, there is nobody else, but that's the even more advanced class. So the Course in Miracles says that the person who's trying to make some type of arrangement in the outer world in order to feel better, This is a person that does not realize that they make this world. There is no world outside of them. Now that's a radical, startling statement. So I'm going to say it several times so that you, so that you can hear what I'm saying. Okay. You don't realize that you make this world. You make this world. You make your world. You make your world. You make your world. You make your world. But you don't realize it. You make your perception. You make your perception. You make the way you see things. You make the way you see things. You make the way you see things. You may not realize it, but you make this world. You make your world. You make your world. How you see things is coming from your own mind. You don't realize you make the world, because there is no world outside of you. The Course in Miracles says that the person that's trying to make an adjustment with the world doesn't realize that they make this world, for there is no world outside of him. So those are the two radical thoughts that the Course in Miracles says that we don't realize. What is it that we don't realize? We don't realize that we make the world we see. You make the world you see. You make the world you see. You make how you see things. 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 You make the world you see. And on many different levels, you make the world you see. There's no world outside. There's no world outside of you. I know it looks like there's a world outside of you, but there is no world outside of you. There's not a world outside of you. There's not a world outside of me. There's not a world outside of me. So what are the world's reality? What's the only thing that's real in the world? According to A Course in Miracles, what's the only thing that's real? Well, in chapter 12, section 3, paragraph 7, it says, if only the loving thoughts of God's child are the world's reality, the real world must be in your mind. So if the only thing that's real are any thoughts of love and joy and happiness that you have, only thoughts of love are real. Only feelings of love are real. Only thoughts of love are real. Those are thoughts of happiness, thoughts of peace, thoughts of joy. The Course in Miracles says, if only the loving thoughts of God's Son are the world's reality, and you are God's Son, and this Course isn't talking about a masculine man or woman. The Course says the son means creation. Okay, son means mind. So if only the loving thoughts of you, God's creation, that means love's creation, because God is love. If only the loving thoughts that you have, if that's the only thing that's real in the world, then that means if a loving thought, now I want you to hear this, if a loving thought is the only thing that's real, and where are thoughts? Well, thoughts are where? In our mind, right? So if loving thoughts are the world's reality, then the real world must be where? The real world must be in your mind. Your loving thoughts are in your mind. Your loving thoughts are in your mind. Your thoughts of love are in your mind. And if it's only the thoughts of love that's real, then that means the real world, the loving world, is not outside of you. The loving world is in your mind. The real world must be in your mind. The loving world must be in your mind. All the love and happiness that you're looking for must be in your mind. But there's something else in your mind beside loving thoughts. There's something else in your mind besides sane thoughts. And the next sentence tells us what that is. What does the next sentence say? It says, your insane thoughts, too, must be in your mind. So listen to me. So what did the Course in Miracles say? Well, it says the loving thoughts are in your mind, but it also turns around and says, you know what, gang? Your insane thoughts must be in your mind, too. Your fearful thoughts, your angry thoughts, your thoughts of dissatisfaction, your thoughts of guilt, all those thoughts must also be in your mind. So what is it that we need to get straight? Okay, we need to get straight that the only thoughts that are real are loving thoughts. And we need to get that the loving thoughts are in our mind, which means the real world is in our mind. But the Course in Miracles says something else. It says, well, I don't know how to break it to you, but the real world is in your mind, but also the loving thoughts are in your mind. But guess what? You have insane thoughts that are also in your mind. There's a part of you that's crazy. There's a part of our mind that's crazy. There's a part of your mind that's crazy. There's a part of my mind that's crazy. There's a part of you that's nuts. There's a part of you that's crazy. If you don't believe me, ask your friends. If you don't believe me, ask your last boyfriend, girlfriend. If you don't believe me, ask the people around you. There's a part of you that's friggin' nuts. The insane thoughts are also in your mind. So I have loving, sane thoughts in my mind. I'm the coolest person that ever walked the earth. Oh, I'm just the most wonderful, loving person you have ever seen. And then there's also the insane thoughts, right? They're in my mind. My anger, my grievances, my insecurity, my bitterness. That's also in my mind. So what does the Course in Miracles say? Well, it says an internal conflict. What is the internal conflict? I have peace, I have conflict. I have love, I have fear. I have innocence, and I have guilt. I have lack, I have abundance. I have sickness, I have health. I have peace, I have conflict. See what I'm saying? The Course in Miracles says an internal conflict of this magnitude you can't tolerate. So the Course in Miracles says you all can't really tolerate the fact that there's sanity in you and insanity in you. That there's love in your mind. If it ever pauses for a second, don't do anything. Just hang in there. It's going to go back to expressing, playing right. Okay, so just hang in there. Because people think the Course in Miracles is really complicated. But it's not complicated. It's only as complicated as you need it to be. What did we just hear? That the only thing that's real are your loving thoughts. And your loving thoughts are in your mind. And so that means that the real world must be in your mind, because everything in the outside world is a projection of the mind. Everything you see in the outside world, the way you see it in the outside world, is a projection of your thoughts. Everything that you're seeing is filtered through your thoughts. Everything that you are seeing is being filtered through your thoughts. So if you have loving thoughts, then you're going to have loving perceptions. So that's in your mind. So that means the real world is in your mind. But the Course in Miracles says, but you also have thoughts that aren't loving. You have thoughts that are not loving. You have thoughts that are also not sane. So you got a part of you that's full of love, he says, and a part of you that's full of fear. Then he says that produces an internal conflict. And the Course in Miracles says that internal conflict becomes what? You're looking at the page, it says what? An internal conflict of this magnitude, you can't tolerate it. So we can't tolerate having conflicting thoughts and conflicting feelings. And the Course in Miracles calls that a split mind. So what is a split mind? A split mind is a mind that has insane thoughts in it and loving thoughts in it. That's a split mind. So a split mind is endangered. And the recognition that it encompasses completely opposite thoughts within itself is intolerable. Okay, a person has thoughts of love and they have thoughts of fear. They have thoughts of sanity and they have thoughts of insanity. It is producing a conflict in me. This is intolerable, that one minute I feel up, the next minute I feel down, one minute I feel good, the next minute I feel bad, one minute I feel peace, the next minute I'm worried. Well, then this is producing an internal conflict within me that I can't stand. It's intolerable. So what do I do? What do I do? I have these loving thoughts and these fearful thoughts. I have these loving thoughts and I have these hateful thoughts. I have these feelings of guilt and I have these feelings of innocence. This internal conflict is intolerable. So what do I do with it? Well, the Course in Miracles says, well, therefore the mind projects the split. So I project the split. I don't project reality, which is nothing but oneness and love. I project the split. So what do you mean, I project the split? Well, my mind is split between loving thoughts and fearful thoughts. My mind is split between happy thoughts and sad thoughts. My mind is split between having a good time and thinking I'm not having a good time. So I project it. I project the split. And when I project the split, what do I see? I see love and I see fear. I see attack and I see peace. I see joining and I see separation. I see sickness and I see health. I see poverty and I see wealth. Do you see what I'm saying? I have opposing thoughts in my mind. I have opposite thoughts in my mind. So I see opposite things in the world that I'm looking at. It looks like there are good people. It looks like there are bad people. It looks like there are happy people. It looks like there are sad people. Well, those are exactly the kind of thoughts that I have in my own mind. One minute I feel good about myself, and the next minute I might doubt myself. One minute I might feel depressed, and the next minute I might feel elated. So I have duality. You have duality. And because you have duality, and that means you don't only have loving thoughts, that's why you don't see only loving thoughts. Because you don't have only loving thoughts. Why do you see conflict in the world? Because you have internal conflict in your own mind. It says it right here. Everything you perceive as the outside world, everything you see as the outside world, is just your attempt to maintain your separate identification. Because everybody believes that identification is salvation. You know, if I really know who I am, that's going to benefit me. If my identification is salvation. So the Course in Miracles says everything that I'm looking at on the outside as separate is just my attempt to maintain my ego, to maintain my own sense of separation, my own sense of being different. That's what the world looks like. It looks like it's full of differences, right? Well, then I'm trying to maintain my ego. And the ego, the Course says the ego is the sense of separation, the sense of being different. And don't you believe that knowing who you are, is salvation? That knowing who you are is going to give you peace? So I want you to consider what's happened. Would you be willing to consider what's happened? It says, yet consider what has happened. If you read the Course in Miracles as if it's a conversation, then it's easier to let yourself hear it. It's just a conversation. That's all it is. I'm having a conversation called A Course in Miracles. It's a course in conversation. The Course in Miracles is a course in conversation. So what do you do? Well, he says, I want you to consider what's happened. Will you consider what's happened? Now, why should you consider what's happened? Well, the reason why you should consider what's happened is that thoughts do have consequences. Thoughts have consequences. Thoughts have results. Thoughts have results. Thoughts have results. Thoughts have consequences. Your thoughts have consequences. Thoughts have consequences. The way you think has a consequence. The way you think has a consequence. The way you think has an effect. But do you know what the trippy part of that is? Thoughts do have consequences. To who? To who, though? To the thinker. Thoughts have results for the thinker. Thoughts do have consequences to the thinker. Are you the thinker? Are you a thinker? Are you a thinker? Okay, if you are a thinker, then you're having thoughts. If you're having thoughts, those thoughts are having consequences. So the consequences are coming, your consequences are coming from your thoughts. Let me say it another way. The Course in Miracles says, let me say it another way. You have become at odds with the world. You have become at odds with the world. Like those of you who feel like you're at odds with a person, or those of you who feel like you are at odds with a situation or a circumstance. Well, you have become at odds with the world as you perceive it. So a person is at odds with the world as they perceive it. And why is it that a person is at odds with the world? Well, a person is at odds with the world. A person is at odds with the world because they think the world is antagonistic to them. The Course says you think you're at odds with everything and everybody because you think everything is antagonistic to you. You're feeling depressed and angry and upset because you think everything is antagonistic to you. And you don't realize that you're upset because you are thinking that the world is antagonistic to you. And that's giving you a consequence. The way that you're thinking is giving you a consequence because thoughts have consequences to the thinker. And sometimes you think the world is antagonistic to you because you think the world is at odds with you. And the Course says thinking that the world is antagonistic to you, thinking that the world is antagonistic to you, this is a necessary consequence of what you have done. So there's a consequence to the way that you think. And you can have a way of thinking that makes you think the world is antagonistic to you. What makes a person think the world is antagonistic to them is because they're at odds with the world. So why is a person at odds with the world? A person is at odds with the world because they are trying to maintain their ego. And everything that they see as the outside world is just a way to maintain their specialness, their ego. Another term for ego is specialness. Me thinking that I'm different and I'm special from you. We are all special. But the Course in Miracles says one of the definitions of the ego is the idea of being different, being separate. And so I have separate thoughts. I have thoughts of joy and I have thoughts of pain. I have thoughts of peace. I have thoughts of conflict. Okay, I project those thoughts out into the world. And so I see thoughts of conflict and I see situations of fear and I see situations of peace. But that's a projection of the internal conflict I have going on inside myself. I have love and fear inside myself. I have conflict and peace inside my own mind. And then I project it and I see conflict in the world. I see conflict in my relationships, but I don't realize, remember it said before, but I don't realize that I'm doing this. Do you know that that is why you should feel completely innocent? Because you don't realize that you are doing this. Because the Course in Miracles says if you realized you were doing it, you simply wouldn't do it, and so you would have peace and joy. So don't beat yourself up. Don't blame yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't blame yourself. Don't beat yourself up. The Course in Miracles is just telling us what we're doing. And the workbook lessons are the way to correct the perception. The workbook lessons are the way that you correct your perception. Okay, let me finish this paragraph. Okay, so it says that you projected outward what's antagonistic to what is inward, and therefore you must see it that way. What does that mean? I have a part of me that is insane and a part of my mind that's sane, and I have projected it. I have internal conflict within myself, so I have conflicts with people outside of myself because I projected what's antagonistic to what is inside of me. I project, I want to see myself as peaceful and loving. I want to see myself as the cutest, most caring, most peaceful, most loving person in the world. But I also have thoughts in my mind that's just the opposite of that. I have thoughts of being selfish and angry and projecting and wanting things my way. And, there's a part of me that's insane, but I can't stand that. So I'm going to project it. I'm going to project it outside myself. I'm going to project my anger outside of myself. I'm going to project my self-hatred outside of myself to get rid of it. But then I create a perception. By doing that, I create a perception that it looks like people in the world and things in the world are antagonistic to me. But I don't realize that that's just a projection of my own antagonism toward me. And so it looks like somebody else is at odds with me, but the truth is it's me at odds with me. So that's why you got to realize your hatred and your upset is in your own mind and not outside of it. If you want to get rid of hatred, if you want to get rid of depression, if you want to get rid of anxiety, if you want to get rid of lack, if you want to get rid of sickness, rid of upset, it says it right here. You projected outward what is antagonistic to what is inward, and therefore you would have to perceive it this way. That's why, see the explanation? That's why you must realize, you must what? Realize. What is it that you must realize? What is it that you must realize? Well, you must realize that your hatred is in your own mind. Your anger is in your own mind. The fear is in your own mind. You have to recognize that the guilt is in your own mind. The lack is in your own mind. You must realize that your hatred is in your mind. That means not outside of it. So all the hatred that you see, all the fear that you see, all the anxiety that you see is in your mind and not outside your mind. So if you want to get rid of your anger, if you want to get rid of your upset, if you want to get rid of your dissatisfaction, what does the Course says you must do to get rid of it? It's right here in the paragraph. To get rid of it, you have to realize it's in your mind. Anything that you want to get rid of, you have to recognize that it's in your own mind. So anything you want to let go of, you have to recognize it's in your own mind. My anger is in my own mind. My guilt is in my own mind. My hatred is in my own mind. Everything is in the mind. And it's not until you get rid of the hatred, get rid of the conflict, get rid of the fearful thoughts in your mind that you can see the world as it really is. And the world really is loving. The world really is peaceful. Your true perception really is loving. Your true perception really is satisfying. Your true perception really is wonderful. Why don't you see it? Well, I don't have only loving thoughts. I know I don't have only loving thoughts. I know I have thoughts of worry. I know I have thoughts of concern. I know I have anger that comes up. I know I have projection and blame that comes up sometimes. I know I do. And you know what? I know you do too. I know you do too. And so the Course in Miracles is simply saying, but you think it's in everybody else. You think it's in everything outside of you. And the Course in Miracles says that's why you haven't been able to get rid of it. Because if you want to get rid of something, you have to recognize it's in your own mind before you get rid of it. Because if it's in your own mind, you can get rid of it. I can't get rid of your garbage, but I can get rid of my garbage. So if I realize it's my garbage, then I can get rid of it. As long as I think it's your garbage and it's my garbage, then I can't get rid of it. And that is why this section has been so powerful. Because in what we've covered, just in this presentation, you have been told how to get rid of hatred, how to get rid of anger, how to get rid of guilt, and how to get rid of conflict in your life. And I'm going to do a quick recap in a minute on the main point so that we can remember it, okay? Wow, because it's through repetition that we learn something new. So you have to watch this or listen to it at least 4 times. Give yourself that to let yourself hear it. I'm Earl Purdy. I'm a full-time teacher of A Course in Miracles. I do it on a love offering donation basis. If you would like to make a financial expression of appreciation, I would love that. Just go to my website, www.earlpurdy.com, earlpurdy.com. You can also use Venmo. You can also use the Cash App. You can also use PayPal or Zelle. And in that case, you just need my email address, earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com, earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. I also do what I call clarity sessions, where we have a one-on-one with each other. I also work as a coach and a counselor and a mentor. And if you would like to really tackle and go beyond what you perceive as your challenges and your limitations in a new way, in a powerful way, if you would like somebody to help you apply the principles of A Course in Miracles to what you are going through so that you can have the miracles and the peace that it offers, then consider having a clarity session with me. I call it a clarity session. And I will work with you personally. And for those who are open-minded to it, I also have skills as an astrologer and numerologist also. I call them clarity sessions. You can go online to earlpurdy.com and go under the tab that says clarity session, and you can self-book an appointment with me right online, and you can learn more about the services that I offer on my website, and sign up for my contact list. Sign up for my contact list because I am going to do some special classes and workshops that are even more in depth in the Course in Miracles. And these are going to be private classes. So make sure you're on my list so I can let you know. On Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, I do another Facebook Live on the Course in Miracles. And those of you in the Denver area, I'm resuming my in-person live A Course in Miracles classes starting this upcoming Sunday, June 6th. I am going to be opening back up and resuming the one-on-one classes, the live classes where people gather with me for me to teach. It's not going to be a mask requirement. So use your own judgment and do what you feel like gives you the most peace. Okay, I'm putting that responsibility also in you. So follow your own heart. Ask the Holy Spirit. So Denver, Colorado, 1555 Race Street, Denver, Colorado, 80206, Unity Temple, 1555 Race Street, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and I'll still be doing my Facebook Lives. I'm excited to get a chance to work with people on a personal level and have us all together. Whew. Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Facebook Live on the Earl Purdy page. Earl Purdy page. We have Hardcore Course in Miracles, what we're doing right now. And I love doing the Course in Miracles with Course in Miracles students. I'm open to anybody watching, and I feel like what I'm saying could be beneficial to anyone, whether or not they're a Course in Miracles student. But I'm especially here for Course in Miracles students. That's who I want to. I want you to know that I'm here to support you in your journey through the Course in Miracles. Absolutely. So here we go. I think that covers everything. Please sign up for the contact list. Okay, let's go back. To identify with fear, how do you make yourself poor? You make yourself poor by identifying with the ego. You make yourself poor by identifying with you just being a body, just a person that's separate from spirit and separate from God. So whenever you identify with your ego, you can tell when you're identifying with your wrong-mindedness. Because what happens when a person is identifying with their wrong-mindedness? They feel deprived. They feel depressed. They feel angry. So what's happening when you feel depressed? What's happening when you feel angry? It means you've exchanged loving yourself for hating yourself. I feel angry right now. I feel depressed right now. I feel deprived right now. So I'm going to admit to myself right now that if that's the case, that I am hating myself right now. For some reason, I'm hating myself right now, and I'm not loving myself right now. So I'm going to become afraid of myself. But the Course in Miracles says, but you don't realize it. You don't realize what you're doing to yourself. You don't realize it. And even if you are aware that you are feeling anxiety, most people don't say, I'm having a lot of anxiety right now because I think I'm separate from God. I feel a lot of anxiety right now because I think I'm separate. The average person doesn't say that. They think that they are depressed because there is something that they need to do in the outer world that they're not doing, or that there's something not happening in their personal outer world that they think should happen. So when you're wrong-minded, when you're feeling anxiety, what do? Well, when you're wrong-minded and you're experiencing anxiety, you try to make some type of arrangement with the outside world. You try to do something in the outside world that you think is going to make you feel better because you think the world and what you're perceiving is outside yourself. You don't realize that you are making your way of seeing things. You're making your way of seeing things. There's no world outside you. There is no world outside you. Your loving thoughts that you have is your reality. The loving thoughts that you have are in your mind. The real world of love and peace that you want must start in your mind. The real world of abundance and peace and love that must start in your mind. But I don't know how to break it to you, but you've also got some ego thoughts, insane thoughts in your mind. So you have sane thoughts and you have sane thoughts and insane thoughts. Sane thoughts and insane thoughts. Those thoughts are in conflict with each other. And when you have love and fear, peace and conflict, you get to the point you can't tolerate it. And when you get to the point you can't tolerate it, then you feel like your mind is in danger. You go, I feel like I'm going to lose my mind, girl. I feel like I'm going to lose my mind, because I got all these opposing thoughts in my mind, and it's becoming intolerable. So what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to project the split. I'm going to project the split. And I'm going to see all of that conflict and antagonism and fear outside myself now. And it looks like things are antagonistic to me. It looks like things and people are at odds with me. But I don't realize I'm just seeing the projection of my own split mind. Thoughts have consequences to the thinker. Thoughts have consequences to the thinker. Thoughts have consequences to the thinker. So, do you know that you become at odds with the world because you think the world is antagonistic to you? You have projected to the outer world what's going on within your inner mind. And so what do you need to do? If you don't remember anything else that I've said, what do you need to realize? Realize that your hatred is in your mind, that the lack is in your mind, that the fear and the anxiety is in your mind. But do you know you have loving thoughts in your mind? You have healing thoughts in your mind. You have freeing thoughts in your mind. You don't only have fearful, insane, negative thoughts in your mind. You've also got loving, healing, peaceful thoughts in your mind. And you can also extend those thoughts. You can also project those thoughts of love, those thoughts of peace, those thoughts of truth. And then you will see that in your world. And you will start to experience more of that peace and love in your world. So if you want to get rid of your ego, if you want to get rid of the fear, if you want to get rid of the anxiety, how do you do it? If you want to get rid of that depression, if you want to get rid of that anger, how do you do it? Well, I'm going to tell you what the Course in Miracles says. You must realize that it's in your own mind before you can get rid of it. If you got jealousy, then it's in your own mind. And because you have jealousy in your mind, you see something to be jealous about in your world. If you want to get rid of something that you don't want anymore, you must not see it as being outside of your mind. See it as being inside of your mind. My upset is inside of my mind. My boredom is inside of my mind. My unhappiness is inside of my mind. It's not being caused by anyone or anything outside me. There's nothing outside me. There's nothing outside you. You're just looking at the projections of your own thoughts. You're looking at the projections of your own feelings. You're looking at the projection of your own belief. I know you may be a part of you that wants to say yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but I already told you that I was going to say some things that would startle you, possibly things that you didn't believe, that you didn't accept. But use these ideas. Use these ideas that I'm giving you, and just see what happens if you consistently use these ideas. So, mighty companions, I am so glad that I had a chance to remember with you. This is a blessed, sacred time for me. So I got one thing I want to say, one more thing. Listen to me. I want you to remember this, 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 remember this. Thoughts do have consequences to the thinker. 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 Thoughts have consequences to the thinker. Thoughts have consequences to the thinker. Your thoughts have consequences. Your thoughts have consequences. Your thoughts have consequences. Your thoughts do have consequences. Your thoughts have consequences. Your thoughts have consequences. Your thoughts have consequences, but your real thoughts, your loving thoughts, are in your mind. If you want to get rid of something, if you want to project love and peace and joy in your world, if you want to have the most loving experiences, happy experiences, coolest people you've ever seen, recognize that you need to have those thoughts in your mind. Yes, we're going to take this and we're going to use the truth to set us free. Mighty companions, please share this video. I love you, and may the course be with you. May the course be with you.